When to a family a child is born, the parents want only the best. To get the child such, the parents are sworn, but to get it are sometimes stressed. They look for books that they hope will assist. The good books they quickly detect. All positive things they try to enlist, but negatives parents reject. Few positives were in most of the books when the child was still a young lad. The whites were centered when it came to looks. Blacks as buffoons, books mostly had. So the father was troubled from the start, and he mounted his own attack. He created stories of a black Bart, a Western hero who was black. In the father's mind, Black Bart was conceived. The need for Black Bart he could feel. A shortage of black stories was relieved, though Black Bart himself was unreal. Mainstream history mentioned not such men. Western heroes were penned as white, where white heroes were black heroes had been, and the need for Black Bart felt right. On the Black Bart stories the lads subsided, and Black Bart he never forgot. While young, the lad thought Black Bart existed. Before learning, Black Bart did not. For the son, each Black Bart story was made. Each story was told from the heart. In fact, Black Bart stories were never laid, but for sure there were blacks like Bart. The tales created were not recorded and were never part of a book, but somehow the young child was rewarded with a much more positive look. The father still stands on his contention. Over such never sit and moan. Since need is the mother of invention, sometimes you must invent your own. In this slave boy, there was something unique. Slavery was not in his head. To an overseer, he was never meek. At overseers, he spit instead. Degradation he was quick to resist. The resistance led to the whip, but yet on resisting he would insist. No beating ever curbed his lip. His back had been beaten bare to the bone. The plantation owner judged him insane, but still he would fight even if alone. For Barton White, he felt disdain. There were countless times that he ran away. Every time he was brought back. Now caught again, his mind in disarray. Barton White, he yearned to attack. The young man stood manacled and bleeding as varied thoughts ran through his mind. His mother was used for white men's breeding. Whites made children they left behind. At his mother's rape, his young eyes had gaped. He had seen such time and again. But the last time he saw his mother raped, in his mind were thoughts of revenge. After some time, he was back to the field. In his mind, he designed a plan. To no one else was his intent revealed. He had planned to kill a white man. One night, a white man had come to their shed. Rape on his mind without a doubt. He threw his mother roughly to the bed and told the young slave to get out. With his mother's screams, the night air was rife. Shelter the young slave did not seek. With a machete he took the man's life as the rapist began to shriek. Shrieks and screams then permeated the air. Most thought it was another rape. At her son the sobbing mother would stare, urging him to pursue escape. Defiantly, her son refused to leave. He wanted to kill Barton White. The owner, Barton White's death, he perceived, would make his other killing right. But his mother's view he began to see. Her pleas and tears urged him to go. With the rapist's gun he began to flee. Escape to where? He did not know. Back to White's plantation, he'd not be brought. He thought that such would be God's will. In many close scrapes, he was never caught. Still Barton White, he craved to kill. He practiced long hours with the gun he had. Though the bullets he had to steal, he never believed that the gun was bad, and while he practiced, he'd conceal. Of the bullets stolen, he'd make good use. A gunfighter he would become. Whether great or small, he'd take no abuse to a slave's life. He'd not succumb. With his six-shooter, he became more than good. His sight, other gunfighters cursed. Most of those he killed were killed where they stood. He allowed each one to draw first. There were many people who asked his name. To such he had become resigned. Black Bart became the name that he would claim. Barton White was still on his mind. Black Bart's complexion was as black as coal, and he stood at average height. His eyes spoke volumes in a non-slave role, and he feared no man, black or white. Outlaw or lawman, it did not matter. On such encounters he would thrive. Much more than often he faced the latter, yielded to none, dead or alive. He faced Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday, and he never batted an eye. No person could take Black Bart's guns away, but outlaws and lawmen would try. With a pistol, Ben Thompson was deadly. He goaded his foes to shoot first. Gunfights found Ben calm and always steady. He attached death to each gun burst. There were Indians Bart chose to befriend. He and they were no friends of whites. That friendliness Black Bart had to defend. Ben Thompson, he was pushed to fight. Ben Thompson allowed others the first shot, and the same was true of Black Bart. Words between the two began to get hot, so the gunfight was soon to start. Now, Ben Thompson had never been unnerved, and his hands were always steady. To Ben, none like Black Bart was ever served, and Black Bart was more than ready. Black Bart was calm and very collected, but Ben Thompson began to sweat. Black Bart's left hand on Ben's jaw connected, over no white man would Bart fret. On Black Bart, Ben Thompson began to gnaw. Ben a beating or death he'd give. Even with the harsh slap, Ben would not draw, since Ben Thompson preferred to live. None watching chose Black Bart to deride. For Bart more awe was accorded. Not believing their eyes, most just denied. So never was such recorded. Those facing Ben Thompson were doomed to hell. Ben's legend was tightly embraced. But of Black Bart, Ben's legend does not tell. From legend, Black Bart was erased. To face Black Bart, famed gunfighters would dread. Wannabes would refuse that play. Some thought eyes were in the back of his head, so backshooters refused such pay. With pride, he wore blackness across his chest. His six-shooter he used with skill. Black Bart few people would try to test. Those who tested him, Bart would kill. A buffalo soldier Black Bart became, and so Red Indians he fought. On the Indians, Bart never cast blame. That was a fight he never sought. From adventure, Black Bart could not refrain. Among many or all alone, he took black settlers west by wagon train, a gunslinger who no one owned. He heard of his mother by word of mouth, so for her he began to look. Though she was free, she was still in the South, comforting as Barton White's cook. When he came upon the old plantation, he asked no one for sage advice. His years there had been constant damnation. He came back for Barton's demise. At the front door, he was told, use the back, but such orders he'd not obey. To get around such, Black Bart had a knack. His front door entrance caused dismay. Servants yelled to Barton for assistance. They hadn't seen Bart since he fled. In seeking Barton, Bart showed persistence. Black Bart rushed to his mother's shed. Slavery was a dire institution. Sadism, pain, no pay yet. All Black Bart wanted was retribution. Only Barton could pay the debt. Bart ran into the shed with his gun out. His mother and White were in bed. Bart never learned what that was about, since Black Bart shot Barton White dead. For all the mayhem that Black Bart had done, some say he by Barton was cursed. Still Black Bart shot Barton with his six gun, giving him no chance to shoot first. As Bart and his mother prepared to leave, his mother was happy but weak. Over that killing Bart would never grieve, and forgiveness he'd never seek. Some say Bart and his mother rode away. Others say they left on a cloud. There is one version no one can allay, that of Black Bart, his mom was proud. Some say Black Bart's conscience had been hollowed. In his body he had no heart. When he and his mom left, no one followed. So speaks the legend of Black Bart. But with that, Black Bart's exploits did not end. There were more deeds Black Bart would do. Into more sagas he was quick to blend, so more heroics would ensue. Though Barton White lay molding in his grave, still Black Bart felt no contrition. To face others of White's ilk, Bart did crave. His fury showed no attrition. Black Bart would move on. His work was not done. He would follow Greeley's advice. Bart's part is scratched in how the West was won, when for his gun he charged no price. Strict education made some seem brighter, but his past he never forgot. Black Bart became a true freedom fighter, but a diplomat he was not. Death was preferable to oppression. He would always help when he could. Then Black Bart devoted his aggression to those in a white robe and hood. There is much Bart's legend does not expose. To many, Bart's a mystery. Bart seems to be the man nobody knows, a man devoid of history. Black Bart is not in a history book. Books may or may not be remiss. Whether books did or did not overlook probability, don't dismiss.